everybody! Today we're going talking about interlanguage. Inside of this topic, we're going explaining about what definition is, some process involving interlanguage, transfer of training, some strategies of second language communication, strategies of second language learning, overgeneralization, some characteristics of interlanguage, and factors affecting interlanguage. So, I hope you like video.
Interlanguage is a linguistic system created by L2 learners incorporating aspects of their own language. Students have their native language, which is called L1. When they learn a second language, it is called L2. When students are learning language, they are in a state of limbo. Their language is not like L1 or L2. Student language is unique. It is called interlanguage. Process involving interlanguage. Transfer, meaning a transition of prior knowledge from L1 to L2. It occurs naturally in language learning when learners transfer elements from their mother tongue to the L2. Positive transfer. It implies the mother tongue and the second language have similar structure and maybe vocabulary, resulting in correct comprehension and language production, both writing and spoken. For example, cognates. Negative transfer. It refers to the use of a native language pattern or rule which leads to an error or inappropriate form in the target language. Some components of the interlanguage system may be the result from transfer of specific elements through which the learner is taught the second language.
Strategies of second language communication. These are strategies that learners use to solve the communications troubles, which are caused by the lack of appropriate forms in the mental lexical. The student compensates either by going to the conceptual stage or by trying out alternative linguistic formulations. Some examples of this could be at the beginning of conversation. Learners can say to the natives, "Okay, I'm still learning your language." This is a kind of a strategy, So the foreigner will speak slowly. Other situation. In a first situation, if the learner doesn't know how to say something, he or she will use kind of gestures and signs in order to make understandable what they want to say. Also, word strategies. What about this? Well, occurs when the learners add specific endings to all vocabulary. In this case, endings like "schon", In Spanish we have comunicación. In English, communication. Estación, station. Organización, organization. But if the learner doesn't know how to say mesa in English, he or she will say some like Messation, that is totally incorrect. The correct word in English is table. Out overgeneralization. This happens when learners create some general structures of grammar based on their experiences and previous knowledge that they know, in this case about English, in order to communicate in the target language. Here we have some examples. If a learner wants to conjugate some words in present and past, could start like that. The word stay in past, he or she will say state, adding ed. But if the learner doesn't know how to say the word buy in past form, she or he will say buy it, adding ed. That is totally incorrect. The correct form in past is both. This also occurs with singular and plural words. In this case, the word students in plural is students, right? But mouse in plural, mouses, no, is totally incorrect. The word mouse in plural is mice. So it's incorrect overgeneralize because each language has its own grammatical structure. Strategies of second language learning. This occurs direct in grammar process, avoiding some rules when learners are writing especially. So based on their mother tongue, to speak the foreign language, the students find it so complex grammar structures. That is the reason for what language learners, in order to make it easier of express in another language, like the English. Here we have also some examples. Learners usually just speak in present, even if they are talking about past or future situations. Learners say, in the future I buy a house. It's grammatical is not correct. But if learners say, in the future I will buy a house, yes, this is correct.
Interlanguage is dynamic. It serves as a bridge between L1 and L2 when learners lack knowledge and find mastery of rules, but over time learners progress. They refine certain rules and obtain new ones. First they may say, I know swimming, which later becomes I do swimming, until it reaches perfection. I don't swim. Interlanguage is systematic. Although different learners have different interlanguage, they all have their own rules within their variation. They may not align with the actual rules, but they are systematic. For example, I receive money, I buy a new car, and I sell it. Rules are set in predictable ways. Interlanguage is variable. Learners' performance is variable. They may apply the same rule differently in separate contexts or domains. Accuracy and fluency vary across occasions as learners have alternative rules for the same function. In a classroom setting, where the learner is focused on producing grammatically correct sentences, They may say, I don't drink coffee. In a spontaneous conversation, the same meaning can be expressed as I not drink coffee.
Social aspects of interlanguage. Interlanguage involves a systematic continuum that learners develop a capability for using the L2, which is based on all regular language behavior and produce an abstract linguistic system. When they fail to acculturate to the target language group, that they are unable to adapt to a new culture. Discourse aspects of interlanguage input and interaction in L2 acquisition. Student behavior is controlled through stimulate and reinforcements. Output in L2 acquisition. It reserves learners' consciousness and helps them to notice gaps in their interlanguage.
Psycholinguistic aspects of interlanguage. It is based on how interlanguage develops in our brain. It depends a lot on the context in which we are learning a new language, and of course also on the type of people who are teaching us that language. Some characteristics that belong here is L1 transfer, how the learner grasps their mother tongue to the meta language. So also the next, the role of consciousness in L2 acquisition, the self-reflection about how she or he is learning the L2 and what mistakes they must to avoid. Linguistic aspects of interlanguage. It is focused on how learners combine grammatical structures as general rules according to their previous knowledge of the mother tongue. This factor is developed most of the time unconsciously.